Hello, I'm Jonathan Altmans, and I'm president of the Global Entrepreneurship Network, and delighted to be here with my colleagues from Hello Alice and KKR and our awesome entrepreneur, Russell, to be joining you for this conversation today about the needs of entrepreneurs and how we can support entrepreneurs during this difficult time. As you know, it is Global Entrepreneurship Week. And so let me begin, if I can, by giving you a little bit of information on what that's about. You know, the Global Entrepreneurship Network, or GEN, we started Global Entrepreneurship Week over 10 years ago. And the purpose of this week is to celebrate entrepreneurs. We hope that during this week, people will get to look at other entrepreneurs and see if they can see themselves in their stories. We hope to be able to inspire more people to consider the path of entrepreneurship. It's vitally important, especially at this time, when we know that it's our entrepreneurs that have not just the resilience and the comfort with dealing with uncertain and unpredictable environments that we're faced with coming out of this pandemic, but of course it's our entrepreneurs that are our primary job creators and of course can rebuild our economies. And so during Global Entrepreneurship Week, we reach out with those who also understand the power of entrepreneurs, whether they be policymakers, whether they be advocates in the ecosystems for entrepreneurs, or indeed entrepreneurs themselves. And we say, let's reach out to our communities, to our neighbors, to others who maybe haven't quite understood the power or their potential as an entrepreneur, and say, maybe we could light the candle in their heart or in their mind and get them to potentially see themselves as a starter, a dreamer, a doer, a risk taker. And that's what Global Entrepreneurship Week's about. Proud to say it's happening in 181 countries this year, which is very exciting. We believe that entrepreneurship is something that should be available and possible for people from all backgrounds, no matter what part of the world you come from, what community you're a part of, or any other variation in our backgrounds as human beings. And so as a result of this, we will be this week having over 40,000 events. And these activities will range from activities with governments. We've had multiple heads of state and policymakers looking to work out how can they be smarter about helping you, the entrepreneurs. We'll also be having activities in education and how our communities can be better ecosystems for engaging more people in this journey of figuring out new and better ways of doing things. But ultimately, the most important message of our Global Entrepreneurship Week celebration this year is about inclusion. Obviously, economies suffer if people are left out. And so we work hard to listen harder, to work out what are the needs of the different communities that we have in our society, and what are the barriers that they're facing in being able to realize their dream as entrepreneurs. And so today, in our discussion, we want to have a conversation where we can learn, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? What are the barriers we're facing? What's the prospects for 2021? And how do we feel that we can do a better job in supporting entrepreneurs? And I'm particularly proud to say that we've partnered at GEN with Hello Alice, the most wonderful team of people with the most awesome platform. You'll hear more about it if you don't know about it. And also with KKR, a global investment firm, to find some ways to bring opportunity, support, and indeed financial support to more people who need it during this critical time. And as we convert into this discussion, I want to leave you with a couple of key thoughts. The first is, this pandemic was tailor-made for a global response, but it didn't get one. So when it comes to rebuilding our economies and regenerating those jobs, those lost jobs, let's have a global response. National boundaries are as porous to innovation and ideas and entrepreneurs as they are to viruses. And the second message is, just remember that what you do as an entrepreneur is not something of just narrow commercial significance. It represents the possibility of human endeavor, not just for yourself and your family, but for the communities around you. And so know that this entrepreneurial imperative that we face now as a path to shed the spotlight on some of the solutions, to empower people to enable those solutions, and finally, to be able to pivot our way and innovate our way out of this pandemic is a very, very important priority for all people. And we hope that more people will consider the path of entrepreneurship. So I'd like to invite my two partner colleagues here first to join this conversation. I'm very, very pleased to say that we have Elizabeth Gore, who's the founder of Hello Alice, co-founder. And we have an incredible partnership with Hello Alice, which is reaching out over a number of years, but we hope to have some grand announcements coming up soon. And I'm also especially proud that we've got Ali Hartman, who is the director and head of global citizenship for KKR, which is a new partnership that Elizabeth and Ali are going to talk about. But I just want to tell you, we are so proud of KKR's initiative in coming forward to ask this question: what can we do to help entrepreneurs in this critical moment? All of them tell us they're optimistic. All of them tell, or so many of them tell us that we're ready to thrive after this period, but we've got this very tricky period where we just got to make it through these next few months into 2021. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Elizabeth Gore, if you could. And the reason is because I know our special guest today joining our conversation is someone who's near and dear to her heart. So I'd like to let you, Elizabeth, if you can, take the honor of introducing to our group, Russell.
Great. Well, howdy, y'all. It's such a pleasure to be with you. And thank you, Jonathan, as always, for your partnership and your support. I do get the great honor of introducing our special guests. I think of him as Chef Russell, Russell Jackson. First of all, we need to talk about his candied bacon on the Food Network and his unbelievable mastery of all things meat. However, what I wanted to talk about is his leadership as a business owner during this, not just this time, but previously. Russell, I've never seen someone who's so busy with a young child, a great wife, a big business, but also ensures that the rest of both the restaurant community, food services, and other small businesses are supported. He sits on boards, he sits on service committees, he pushes through advocacy to ensure that folks are being heard and the voices of small business owners are there. It's funny to save it for last, but he also has one of the best restaurants. If you're headed into New York, Reverence. Right now, Reverence, you can get your food to go through online orders and now delivery. And someday we're going to sit our butts right back in that restaurant and eat up all of his food. So Chef Russell was the benefit of a grant in the early COVID days, distributed by Hello Alice. And we do feel like it's critically important to get funding in the hands of strong small business owners and entrepreneurs like Russell. But really what struck us, and the reason that we chose Russell through our grants committee, was he very quickly pivoted and started feeding frontline workers. And I think is just very indicative of most small business owners right now, not just their own survival and ability with their families to get through this pandemic, but most are giving back to their community in a way that is palpable. So Chef Russell, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and beyond your critique of my terrible sandwich I was just eating, tell us more about your business.
Oh, goodness. You had me a little choked up. So thank you for all those very lovely words. I'm Russell Jackson, and I am the owner chef of Reverence Restaurant here in Harlem. We're in a 150-year-old historic landmark building on the infamous Drivers Row corner. And if you're a Luke Cage fan, you will have heard Drivers Row many times. I've been cooking professionally over 40 years. And for me, this is my 7th restaurant operation, and my first personal, fully financed ownership, which has been an extraordinary calling and pushing hard for my family and everyone around me. We were about 4 or 5 months into operations when we started to actually see issues around COVID. And we had a definitive choice, which was, well, do we fold up camp or do we cross the threshold and do what we said we came to do, which was to be of service to the community and to create a better amenity for a better Harlem. And I feel that in the last 8 months, we have definitively lived up to that. Some of the ideas of why we built this restaurant the way we did and the business model that we had created definitely showed that we made the right decisions. Of course, not really planning for a pandemic, like no one did, and except for Obama. But we sat down with our crew, who I couldn't do this without, and we all agreed as a team that we would take whatever effort and put ourselves at risk, knowing as little as we did, and tried to stay up to the minute and educated about how we could be of service to the community. And again, like I said, I think that we, to a certain degree, have provided that grounding force for people, and we've seen that reflected back in people that have come to us or dropped off cards or gifts or just stopped in and knocked on the windows and held up hearts and said, hey, thank you for being here. So those are the things that keep us going every day. So I sincerely appreciated the Dallas grant. Came at a very dark hour for us, and it kept the wheels turning for us to get to that next lily pad of safety. And it's as everybody can well assume, especially for restaurants, this is an extraordinarily difficult time. And yeah.
Thanks, Chef. You're the best. Thanks, Chef. I'll hand it back to you, Jonathan.
Yeah. So, Chef Russell, tell me, what was the most important thing you needed that grant for? Was there a particular, was it keeping people? Was it primarily keeping the lights burning with the rent? What was the thing you think other entrepreneurs like you would just say, look, this is why I really need this bridge transition?
Well, the immediate need for us was shifting our business model, as well as getting the necessary PPE that we didn't have in trying to protect my staff and to prepare ourselves to be of service. Once we got the okay to be qualified as an essential business, and my staff and I felt comfortable and talked through a plan of action of how we could provide service but still protect ourselves. Once we had that determination, then it was really okay. What do we need to facilitate that? And the first 3 weeks of service were pretty scrappy, and simply because of the fact. And I'll give so much credit to Nick Konis and the Talk organization. They, without a doubt, moved along with us and provided us with the tools that were necessary for us to stabilize, to open ourselves up in a way to be able to function in a way that we were not designed for. I mean, this restaurant was truly purpose-built. The space, the equipment, the size, the infrastructure, the staffing levels, all of those things were purpose-built for fine dining, in-house, sit-down dinner. We didn't even have plastic wrap or tin foil to be capable of packaging materials. So and you have to realize too, is that everybody shut down. So all of our sources, and because we're a high quality and a quality driven restaurant, all of our vendors had closed. Fish company, meat company, produce company, everybody went home and had no plans on returning. So we were on it by ourselves for at least 10 weeks. And, to a certain benefit side, we were the only game in town for at least on the Talk platform for about 6 to 8 weeks. So we were getting beat up pretty badly in the beginning. And then once we stabilized as a business and sort of had our systems, but there was a lot of, to be really honest, there was a lot of crying. there is a lot of whining and fussy faces about, oh my God, what do you mean we have to do this today? But again, my team pulled together and we all believed in what we were doing, and again saw the results that we were achieving by feeding people that were in need, really. And we continue to try to do that through the city programs that are helping to sustain us, as well as our advocacy programs, which is helping to keep a little bit of finance for cash flow for us to be capable of assisting other people, especially those within the restaurant industry and our local community, to feed them. So
people remember those things for years to come. So,
I certainly hope.
I know that you also, obviously come at this from the perspective of understanding what it's like to run a small business. But tell us a little bit about what you and Elizabeth, and now we're proud that Jen will be involved in this, about how this idea came up of having a grant program. And do you want to tell us some more about it?
Yeah, Elizabeth might want to take that. I mean, we on our part.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I cut out there. I was asking Allie. Allie.
Oh yeah.
I'll put it to Allie.
I was like, wait, Russell, I didn't know you did that. Hi, everyone. So great to be with you today, and so awesome to hear Russell's story and get to actually meet the man behind the legend that I've heard so much about these last few weeks. My name is Allie Hartman. I am a director at KKR. KKR is a multinational global asset management and financial firm. So what that basically means is that we make investments every day in businesses around the world. We are an owner-operator of, sorry, Jonathan, is that okay? Did I cut out?
No, you're great.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Perfect. So we make investments every day in businesses around the world. We're an owner-operator of around 160 companies today, and that number is always changing. And I think fundamentally we realized that all big businesses, these 100 million, 500 million, billion-dollar companies that we invest in, were once small businesses. And we really wanted to be part of the solution in this moment and to meet small business owners where they needed us to be. I'm a little bit biased because I am a small business owner myself. 5.5 years ago, I made the choice to invest money into a business that had closed down in a town that we were living. And we brought this very, very lovely, but very rundown and previously unsuccessful general store, 200-year-old general store in rural Vermont, back to life. And grew that business to just before COVID had broken $1 million in revenue, and we're employing more than 25 people in a town of 260. So we did a lot of things in a little tiny place. And I just fundamentally believe in the power and the importance of small business, right? We are living in a world of Amazons and Googles and Apples and McDonald's and Coca-Cola and places that I think are important, absolutely, to the overall, nature of the capitalist economy that we live and work in. However, I think that small businesses are who provides jobs, often living wage jobs. They're who occupies real estate in the places that you want to live. They're who supports the Little League team and donates to the school raffle, right? These are the backbones of the places where we call home. And when they go away, when they close their doors, a heartbeat goes away, right? The part of the thing that makes that place alive and beautiful and inclusive goes away. So we're thrilled to be doing this. We launched a program with Hello Alice and Gen Global, up to $5.5 million of grants to small businesses. And we're here today to talk about that and to encourage you all who are watching to apply and to get the people that to apply. Yeah, Russell, come on back. And I'll say, you know, it's funny. One quick story is that I didn't know Hello Alice existed, but my small business applied for a grant from the Red Backpack Fund, and we didn't get the grant. That's okay. Still wear my Spanx occasionally, though less and less in a pandemic. But I then came to find Hello Alice when we wanted to do our own program and said, wait, you did that fund? So, you know, there's all these people working behind the scenes. And I think the thing that entrepreneurs know, and Russell said, is like, we have to be scrappy. We have to attack this from all angles. We have to support each other. We have to buy from small businesses. We have to put our dollars to work in that way. But also big companies like ours and many others that Elizabeth can talk to, I think are stepping up in this moment in a really profound and meaningful way. And we're just thrilled to be able to do that.
Allie, whenever you talk about your store, I don't know if y'all watch Schitt's Creek, but all I can think about is the Rose Apothecary on Schitt's Creek.
I mean, when they opened that, I did watch it. And when they opened that, I texted my business partner, who's our general manager, who does not watch the show. And I was like, oh my God, David, she had no idea what I was talking about. So I appreciate the reference. We are sort of a destination space. We do catering and events, specialty food and grocery. We have a cafe and traditional grocery and merchandise. And so we, in a town of, you know, less than 500 people, you have to do a lot of hustling to make it make sense. But there we are.
I love it.
Yeah.
Everyone's asking the name of your store. Can you tell us the name of your store,
sure.
Allie?
Yeah, it's called MKT, short for market, MKT Grafton. Grafton, mktgrafton.com. Come and see us. We're in the most beautiful place in the world.
Right on. And I wanted to follow up with something you mentioned earlier, Jonathan, about that we're all global. So everyone who applies to our partnerships with Hello Alice, KKR, and Gen Global, you automatically get mentorship.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, there's not enough money in the world to go around, but there is enough support. So you're automatically put into a community of peers that can help you think through. I worry about owners in isolation right now. Mental health is now in the top 3 barriers for US companies to grow. So, you know, I really encourage folks to take advantage of the mentorship and community aspect of Gen Global and Hello Alice through KKR. It's a really hard time to make difficult decisions, and folks are there for you, whether it's a peer-to-peer, whether it's someone who's been in the business a long time. But I wanted to stress that. And for our global audience, this is a global program, which is really exciting.
Yeah. It's really
go ahead.
Really exciting that KKR decided that being a global investment firm, that they would make it available to people outside the United States. Obviously, enormously exciting. But I think, as Elizabeth stressed, I think, you know, rather like, you know, when you have a business plan competition, people always tend to focus on the people who win the prize. And I think, you know, Elizabeth and I over the years have always focused on, you know, if people don't make it, how do we help them to make it in the next round? And I think it's a really important message to emphasize. I mean, we are so proud of our partnership with KKR, but also with Hello Alice in particular, because Hello Alice really has lots to offer, even if it's, Elizabeth said, on the platform, even if you don't make it to get one of those grants. But it's enormously important we remember that we're really here to help each other, to support each other, to build community. And that I hope Russell would agree. And I think we heard it from Russell a few minutes ago, that a lot of this is just people having your back, being there with you. It's not always about the cash. But Elizabeth, tell me a little bit more, and Ali, pipe into, tell us a little bit more about how we're going to be executing the KKR grants program, and maybe we could just give people a little bit more information about that. I'm sure people are always keen to hear about some of those opportunities.
Sure.
Go ahead, Allie.
Yeah, I'll jump in, and then Elizabeth, I'm pretty good at our program, but she's good at the broader ecosystem that they run. So you all can right now go, if you're on a computer or a phone, go to kkr.helloalice.com. And all of the information, the application, everything is available there. We will have multiple rounds. We just closed our first round. We awarded 52 grants to small business owners, predominantly in the US. Again, though, that's because of where the pipeline is coming. So we want more global representation because we know there are small business owners in Australia and in the UK and in China and in Singapore and all over the place. So we hope that with some more time and publicity, those business owners find us as well. Of the 52 grants that we awarded, we're thrilled to say that 63% went to women-owned businesses, 19% to Black-owned businesses, 12% to Latinx-owned businesses. And I think that the inclusion piece, the diversity piece is really important to us. You know, we all saw that New York Times article that said more than 50% of Black-owned businesses have closed since March. I mean, that is a stunning and staggering statistic, and anybody who wants to talk about racial justice and racial equity in the world right now needs to be paying attention to that. I think for us, you know, Jonathan, I'll say one of the things that differentiated Hello Alice and Gen Global is what you were talking about, which is those comprehensive wraparound services. We didn't want to just write checks and walk away. We really want to use the model that we put to work every day, which is that when we make an investment in a company, in a large company, right, we have a shared interest in that company's success. We invest for years, not days or weeks or months or quarters. We really go shoulder to shoulder and work with the management team. We have people on the boards, we have people in the companies. Now, we're not going to do that. Don't worry, entrepreneur. It's not going to be that intense. But we do think it's really important that we give more than this check. Obviously, the cash is critical, but with our program, we have a number of senior executives at our firm who have volunteered to be mentors to small businesses if they want them. We have the technical expertise and the training, the webinars, the guidance that the Hello Alice platform enables. And we're really, really excited with those three pieces, capital, mentoring, and technical support, to see how our cohorts of entrepreneurs are able to succeed because of that comprehensive wraparound nature of this effort.
Fantastic, absolutely. And I think we will be making sure that all those that are applying get an opportunity to benefit from a wide range of these kinds of support services. But it's particularly important to emphasize what Ali said about the fact that, you know, you guys are going to be mentoring along the way here, really helping these companies. And I think it's great the way your employees are getting involved directly in helping to be part of the progress of some of those businesses in their own communities. So,
the only thing I'll add that I forgot is our next round. This is critical. Our next round closes on November 25th. So please, if you're thinking about applying and you can get this, you know, you have a week more or less to get your application in, we would love to see it. The application is pretty straightforward. If you've applied for government assistance or any other kind of grant program for small businesses, you probably already have all of the information that you need. You go, you fill out the application. The Hello Alice team does a first passive review. We have a committee of employees, about 15 people, that then review the next level of sort of the next shrinking of the pipeline. And then from there, we look at the scores, the aggregate scores. We do one final round of review. And then we had the great privilege today and yesterday of announcing those grants and sharing some of the early winners. And I got to tell you, I don't know, Russell, your experience when you got the call, but the two calls that I was on both ended in tears, and some including my own. And just to see, to see what this means to people, and not only to see it, but as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, to know that money can be catalytic for some of these businesses and can really allow them not only to hang on and survive, but in some instances where $10,000 is the difference of a piece of equipment or a drive-through window or an upgrade to your website that allows for online ordering, it will allow these businesses to thrive. And that is our ultimate goal.
Yeah, I cried like a child. Let's be honest. But it didn't help that my wife walked in and handed me my son when they were talking. So it kind of blew it all up.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah.
Well, and what in that process too, we're learning, right? I mean, Chef shared with us really what's happening on the ground, what's happening in key environments. And one of the areas that we work really hard in, us and the Global Entrepreneurship Network, is data. And I know everyone kind of jumps back when I mention data. We never share or sell personal data. What we do is through these applications and when people come onto our platforms is we're tracking every barrier that y'all tell us is out there, what is working, how is COVID impacting you, what do you need from the US government or the government of the country you're in. And then we pull all that together and do open data reports back to thought leaders, earned media, policymakers, industry leads, so that we are consistently advocating for the needs of small business owners. We used to do that once every 6 months. Now we do it once a week. As Chef can attest to you, things change every day right now for small business owners. We have to stay in front of it. If you think about the adage, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, that winter is coming, that has everything to do with small business right now, the winterization of their stores, the increased rates of COVID. So I'll just say that y'all's voices are so critically important when you're sharing both the barriers and what are working. And we as KKR and Gen Global will ensure that we are then in turn ensuring that the right folks hear you. And, you know, Chef, before we got on the line, you were just sharing just the week to week that y'all are going through. Can you just share some of the advocacy work that you're doing on behalf of your fellow owners?
Well, I've been a board member for an organization in the South Bronx, WEDCO, which is a women's health education development company. I've been on that board for about 6 years now, and it's always great to help them. But since COVID, I've actually become a part of the advisory board for the COVID task force for the Aspen Institute, which includes executives from everything from the NRA to hotel chains, airline industry, equipment manufacturers. We have several overseas contacts and several people nationwide. I'm sort of the guy on the ground dealing with restaurants. And then there are several other groups that I've been part of. And one of the things that I've always believed in has been we are categorized as a high roads kitchen, which means that this organization, my belief has always been about paying a living wage to my staff. And when we built this restaurant, we built that into our profile, our business profile, to make sure that we could take care of our staff in a way that I knew was necessary for them to be able to do the top quality and the hard work that we were going to be doing here. Now with the impact of COVID and the destruction of really the restaurant industry itself, one of the things that I've been barking about for 7 months now has always been the fact that, okay, in 2 weeks, we watched our entire system crumble. Not just from the standpoint of we don't have customers, but from where we're getting our food, how we get our food, what the quality of materials that we're serving, what the health of our customer is, all of those philosophies, all of that culture that we put into the work that we do every day. And something that I think that all restaurateurs and a lot of people in business can agree is that the system has been broken for a very long time. And COVID has just exposed and exacerbated the issues from how we deal with the government, how downline services are affected, what our supply chains are like, where we can get funding from. And as an African-American, getting loans and things like that are practically non-existent for us. And all of those, again, it's somebody just, the knob got turned to 11 immediately. So with that, I always advocated, and I'm staunchly advocating now, that as we rebuild this system and we rebuild this industry, that we do it in a way that we can all ethically, economically, and physically benefit from it in a better way, that we don't have to just go back to what we know was already broken. Let's, we're given a gift. Like if there's a golden nugget in the enormous pile of steaming poo right now, is the fact that we get to rebuild it and we can rebuild it better. So one of those things for us is Fair Wage Act. In New York, we have something called a tip credit, where we felt that it doesn't necessarily for long-term benefit our staffs, and tipping is from a standpoint of an act from slavery. It's been done forever, and it's not right. It also supports sexual impropriety and abuse and harassment. So these were all things that we wanted to see changed, and it's all part of, again, with One Fair Wage, which is the group that I'm supporting, as well as ROAR, another firm that I'm or organization that I've been supporting. Just recently, we just did a big fundraiser for ROAR for 2 weeks, where I partnered with my good friend Jeremy Fox, who's best chef of the West nominee multiple times but never won. We did a thing with San Pellegrino where we traded dishes, and he cooked my dishes in Los Angeles, and I cooked his food here in New York, and we raised money for ROAR through that process.
That's very cool, by the way. I've never heard of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and just the fact that I got to cook Jeremy's food. I love him so dearly, and we, again, chefs, we are communal people by nature, so we want to be surrounded by people. We want to interact with our peers, and we obviously haven't had that opportunity for a very long time, and it's just nice to be able to have that camaraderie in a slightly different way, and make really great food for a really great cause. So, those are just sort of the tip of the iceberg of some of the things that I've been working on. I have another project that's in development that I'm very, very, very excited to be able to talk about, hopefully within the next few months. That's going to hopefully, we hope, make a very large statement about diversity, transparency, efficacy, and advocacy. So,
well, we'll have to get back together in a few months. We can have like another panel all together and hear the news.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So I want to emphasize, if you've got questions or you've got comments, please go into the chat. We're going to take a few questions now, but I did want to also, while we're just switching to that, emphasize what Elizabeth said. If you're an entrepreneur and you're watching this, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is what Elizabeth said about collecting data every week. At GEN, for example, we work with governments in almost every country in the world. We operate in 180 countries. And a lot of what we do to create a better environment for people like Russell is we work with the policymakers, as Elizabeth said, and governments. And I have to tell you, these guys are mostly interested in becoming more savvy when in terms of understanding what your real needs are. They read a lot of stuff. They get a lot of secondhand information. A lot of the time it's out of date, especially in this dynamic pandemic world. And so what they're really looking for is, tell us what you really need right now, and try not to sort of tell us what your kind of nice wish list is, but what do you really need right now? So policymakers are trying to think with small business owners and with entrepreneurs right now. And I just can't tell you how valuable that is. Now is the time when every government on the planet is thinking about, and in every community, how do we restore our economy? And they're going to be putting public money into it. We want to make sure the first rule do no harm. We want to make sure those public dollars are wisely used. So the best way to do that is for you to be an advocate. And I hope you do that through both the Hello Alice platform and indeed through GEN. But anyway, let's turn to a couple of other comments that we've got here. We've got a couple of people that said, what are the requirements to apply for businesses based outside the United States? Ali, do you want to take that, or Elizabeth, either of you, to talk about, are there any special requirements for businesses applying from outside the United States?
Well, let me, Jonathan, give a high-level overview of a couple other pieces I didn't share, and then let Elizabeth talk specifically to that question. Does that work for you, Elizabeth? Perfect. So so the general parameters of the program, we ask that small businesses have between 5 and 50 employees. We ask that they don't have more than $7 million in revenue. We ask that they have a demonstrated need for this capital and a plan for it. and that they also have a plan for moving forward, right? So the applications that we saw get scored highly and ultimately get awarded this round were really small businesses that knew what they needed and knew that, you know, they can't guarantee what's going to happen a year from now, but that this isn't something that next month they expect to be out of business, right? We're really trying to find the organizations, the companies that are going to make it, but we want to make it easier to make it. To invest in those that might be on the bubble, that this, like I said, is capital investment that allows that breathing room to move into the future securely. There is also on the application, I saw this pop up in the chat. Somebody asked, there's a line that asks, what KKR employee nominated you? We do have employees all around the world, and we want to know, we want them to be able to share this with small businesses that they care about and shop from and use. So that is in there. You're welcome to use my name or put Gen Global Event in that box. And if not, though, you're also welcome to leave that blank. It's not an obligatory question. And then in terms of inside, outside the US, we still are asking for financial documentation to make sure that, you know, you're a solvent and solvent business and in good standing. But I'll let Elizabeth add any specifics there that I might not be able to articulate as well.
I think you landed it all. One thing I'll just flag is we do have an amazing grants committee of diverse global organizations that represent African-American or Black owners, Hispanic, Latino owners, people with disabilities, women, veterans in the countries that you live in. And so we want to make sure that the applications are representative and those who choose of the owners that are what we call the new majority, women, people of color, our US veterans, and so on. Additionally, we have to make sure we're accessible and we're reaching into the farthest corners of the country that you're in. So we really value our network partners, and obviously in addition to Gen Global, like Black and Brown Founders, like Bunker Labs for Veterans. These are all groups that are really critical, who ensure that we're getting the word out. So as long as you are a solvent company with all of the areas that Ali mentioned, we do go through that diligence and we check for IRS, EIN, or the equivalent in your country. So, but again, most of all, in addition to your application, we're wanting to make sure we support you through the life of your business. I wish there was enough funding for everyone, but there is enough support. So I'll just keep stressing that.
I can't begin to tell you how much, you know, the mandate that Hello Alice has taken in the respect that you guys said it and you have been doing it. And it's not just myself that as a recipient of this help can advocate for, but the fact that I know other people that have benefited from the program so far. And it's been a godsend. And the mentorship is something that I think a lot of people take for granted. It's like, I know what I know what I'm doing. I know how to do it. I don't need help. I was fortunate enough in being paired with a mentor in the program, and I had a 30-minute phone call that turned on so many light bulbs, and that has kind of wrecked my game right now.
They all good mentors always get you all.
It was so much information, and I think that I'm unique in the respect that I have a small restaurant, and having had businesses that have had different levels of success in the past, I made the determination that this time, because I have rock stars in my friends pile, that I would reach out to them and say, okay, I'm going to create an advisory board for a restaurant. And I'd never heard of it done before other than large conglomerates. And I said, I just want a group of people that I trust, that I know have no agenda other than the enrichment of my life and my business. So let me put the hard-earned questions and these ideas, because I know I will outthink myself every single time. And the fact that I can call these people, and now this additional gentleman, to be able to say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Am I going down the right path here, or should I wait a little while? And sometimes, like last night, I was talking to one of my advisors based on the initial conversation that I had from the mentor, and some of the ideas that I started dreaming up, and they were like, whoa, slow down. You know, it's like, it's a great idea, but here's how you should stage it. And, you know, I'm getting varying degrees of sort of thumbs up on it. Everybody thinks that it's all a great idea, but there are different paths to get to the right decisions. And it's great to be able to have those other voices that can inspire you, as well as help keep you reined in to not make overly aggressive or mistakes. Right now, obviously, cash is so precious. Your time is so precious. And it's imperative that decisions that you do make are soundly grounded, and that you have an extra set of hands and eyes that can just help you think a little bit more about making enormous decisions. Because frankly, we're all having to make decisions right now that none of us planned for.
Yeah.
No one was prepared for this. And if you were, then I want to know what you're eating, because I want some of it too. You know. All right. I've got some tickets to the racetrack. Please come with me.
We have a couple of other questions, Elizabeth or Ali. You know, one was around how do we notify people if you got a grant? Secondly, if you applied before and maybe were not successful, can you apply again? And thirdly, we got a question around any suggestions around how this ties to startup capital, which I think some people have said has been very difficult this time. So you want to comment on either of those three questions? I know we've got a limited amount of time now, so.
Sure. So quickly, one other question I'm seeing is about gig workers or part-time workers, contract workers. We do count those in terms of employees. We recognize that we live in a gig economy where certain salons, studios, gyms might have workers that are not full-time employees. So if you have two full-time employees and 7 part-time employees, you qualify. If you have 1 full-time employee and 10 gig, worker, you qualify. So please think about that as you move forward. In terms of how we notify individuals, so there's a joint way we do it. Sometimes it would be a phone call, sometimes it would be an email. We usually try to notify everybody, I believe it's within 30 days, Elizabeth, of the deadline of the round closing. So we're in that process now. We do not roll your application over for your small business, but if something fundamentally changes, you are welcome to reapply for the program. You may need to use a different email address. I think that the system might be smarter than we think it is. But I would say that if you didn't get a grant and your business is sort of the same, maybe spend your time looking at other programs. I would say if something fundamentally changes in 3 or 6 months for your business, that you're trying to invest in something new or different, you're welcome to give it another go. In terms of startup funding, I totally agree, and it's one of the things that I know, having been a small business owner myself and applied for loans, that can be hard. I would, of course, if you're in the U.S., check with your local chambers of commerce, check with the community capital organizations. But I think most of that information is available on helloalice.com. Exactly.
Yeah, so I wanted to stress that on Hello Alice, we both host funds on Hello Alice that are seed, Series A, angel funding, as well as other private grants. We have a lot of grant programs. Hello Alice and Gen Global collectively, we've already got a commitment for over $20 million in capital to go out the door next year, mostly to diverse owners. So I want to stress that. You can also search very easily on Hello Alice for funds based on your stage of growth, your physical location and industry, and it will pull up and navigate for you those funds. And while we're on that topic, I also want to stress for everyone to not get fatigued with the government, even though we're all tired. Please keep looking at federal, state, and county and city funding. There's stimulus funding that pop up in your city and in your county. Go to most cities and counties have an economic development board. It's usually EDB. If you search that in your community, there are constantly new funding coming out. Sometimes it's by sector, sometimes it's not. I know we all have application fatigue. Even at Hello Alice, we have to apply for everything too right now. But please keep looking also at .gov funding and support. And then finally, the private sector grant funds like KKR, others that are out there from, you know, Verizon to Amazon and others, you can also search for those on Hello Alice. And I'll just stress, because I got to do this as a constant mentor, also make sure you're finding money within your own bill pay. A lot of business services right now, if you ask, will actually do some forgiveness programs. So your QuickBooks accounts, what about rent relief? Some areas are doing rent relief. Really look at your bill pay and contact those vendors and just see if they're doing any kind of relief, long-term debt. There's opportunities there. I've seen owners save almost $5,000 a month right now, just by asking those questions. So I want to stress that as well.
That's a great point, and I'm writing that down.
Absolutely. I'll just add to what Elizabeth said. You know, at Gen, for example, we have something called the Global Business Angels Network, which is hundreds of angel investor networks around the world. And one of the things that we've seen that's been occurring dramatically over the last 3 to 4 months as we've collected data is that we're seeing a rapid increase in the number of investors investing in companies that are in another part of the world, just because everybody's become more comfortable with both pitching and listening to pitches virtually. You know, it's another thing. It never used to happen. It used to be you get like 1 or 2 people from outside your community and all those local angel investor groups were where it all came from. That's dramatically changed. So there's other ideas and sources out there, but I really think it's emphasize that there are some great avenues available. So, Russell, were you trying to add something? I wasn't sure.
No. We are technically in the middle of service still. So my beverage director's doing something, and I'm kind of like, so.
Well, keep it real here, folks.
Right now.
I think we're starting to run out of time, but we will try to get to some of the other questions that were on chat offline. But of course, anybody that's interested, of course, we've got the link in the chat to the Hello Alice page where the grant applications can come in. I do just want to add one other thing to what Ali said. It's not required to put that you had a referral or a recommendation, but obviously do go ahead. If you're coming from the Gen Global community, put in there, as I think Ali or Elizabeth said, put Gen Global if you're coming from Alice, put Alice in there. And if you're coming obviously from a KKR employee referral, please put those in there. It just helps to give additional perspectives on trying to evaluate the tough job. I'm happy to be on the grants committee too. And I know that it's a tough job to evaluate what the, how to get to what is a limited number of resources. But before we wrap up, Ali, I do want to give you and Elizabeth a chance to make any final comments. And in particular, I'd just like to publicly take this opportunity on behalf of all of us, particularly nonprofit organizations like ours, that wake up every day, admittedly inspired by just some incredible entrepreneurs who always see the glass half full, who always keep us optimistic. But I just want to say on behalf of all of us that are fighting for entrepreneurs, please pass back to all involved at KKR for their extraordinary generosity and kindness in doing this. I know that you're not going to take any personal credit for that, but I think it's amazing what you guys are doing. There's not a lot of companies doing that, and we just think it's should be recognized and acknowledged. I certainly think on behalf of Jen, we wanted to say that. We hope people follow in your footsteps. But with that, I'll turn over to you and Elizabeth. Is there anything else you want to add? Because I know Russell's going to have the final word anyway. So, but I want Elizabeth and Ali, if you could, just to give us any final words as we wrap up.
Well, I'll go and then I'll let Elizabeth maybe have the final, or Chef have the final. But thank you for that. That's incredibly generous of you to share those words. You know, KKR Small Business Builders does come from a place of us wanting to do good in the world. But fundamentally, we also believe that this makes us a smarter, better, more innovative business, right? So there is a real value to us in being connected in this way to our communities, to this ecosystem of entrepreneurs and change makers. We have a number of other programs besides KKR Small Business Builders. You can go to kkr.com/grants. If you are a nonprofit, we have a nonprofit program where we are offering philanthropic grants to 501c3 organizations around the world. And so we encourage you, if you know folks in that circle, to also, I don't know if Wetco is a nonprofit, but get them over there if so. Yeah, we're inspired every day by the people who are out in the world trying to make their corner of it a better place. And we all need to be doing more, ourselves included. This is not a destination for us. This is really, we're starting in this space. We're learning an incredible amount from partners like you and the small business owners that come through this program. And I'm really hopeful and optimistic that this will be just the beginning of what KKR can do to really offer meaningful support and recognize that everybody matters. In healthy, thriving economies, everybody matters. And we can't stress that enough. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you. The link again for nonprofits is kkr.com/grants. And that nonprofit program just closed. It'll reopen right after the holidays. And we'll do 4 cycles of that next year. So thank you. And I'll turn it over to Elizabeth.
I just want to thank you, Allie, Jonathan, and Chef Russell for your inspiration and support to the business owners that we love at Hello Alice. And to the business owners, I just stay up all night worrying about y'all. I really want you to be a part of a community. If you don't want to apply for funding, just join, whether it's Hello Alice or Gen Global or other networks that are local to your neighborhood. None of us plan to make these demoralizing, frankly, decisions in our businesses, and you need to do it with support. And right now that's virtual support, but it is support. So whether it's a peer-to-peer, someone in your chamber, someone in a environment that you trust, I just hope that you're reaching out and leaning in. And I know we're all so time poor right now that when can you even make time for it? But it will behoove you in your personal and professional life. So we're here for y'all 24/7 at Hello Alice. We really appreciate our partners at Jen and KKR for bringing all this to life. And most of all, thanks to Chef and all owners like him who are keeping our country alive right now. We really believe in y'all.
Thank you. To close it up, I guess, I'm grateful. And I'm grateful that I'm getting the opportunity to speak on behalf of owners, and Hello Alice and now KKR are making an impact and a difference, to all kinds of levels. And I'm the first one to tell you that I know what it is to struggle. Nothing about what I have done here has been easy. Pre-COVID through existing through COVID, and just know that you're not alone, that you can reach out for help, and that we'll be here. And my handle on Instagram is Chef R Jackson. If you need help, just shoot me a DM, and I'll try to do my best to respond and point you in a direction if I can. And as you're going through all of this, remember that the way to best help yourself is to help others, and to be of service, and to do better for humanity through whatever means, whatever you're doing with your business, however you're developing. Think about it from the standpoint of how can I make this to serve others? So.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And you're a great example for so many of us. And we appreciate everything that you do. So thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Allie. Thank you, Chef Russell. This has been great. We look forward to hearing from more of you. I just also want to remind you that we have 13 countries during Global Entrepreneurship Week that are indeed out of the pandemic and hugging each other. I was just with our teams in New Zealand, and they were bragging on camera that they're all together, and it's an optimistic sign to show that we will get through this. But until we get through, as Jeff Russell said, let's help each other out. Let's get through it by giving back. I think it's been a mantra of our entire entrepreneurial ecosystem. You know, one of the best things about entrepreneurs is usually the first question they ask you is, how can I help? So that, thank you to Ali, thank you to KKR, thanks of course to Elizabeth and all the fabulous work that Hello Alice does. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing your application, and we'll look forward to hearing from you and learning about what else we could do either at Jen or at Hello Alice or elsewhere to help. Many thanks.